This bomber first flew in 1952. It carried nuclear weapons during the Cold War, dropped bombs over Vietnam, struck targets in Iraq and Afghanistan. And today, more than 70 years later, it's getting one of the biggest upgrades of its life. Not to retire it, but to keep it flying well into the middle of this century. So, what's changing? And how does a 1950s bomber still matter in modern war? The B-52 is often called a Cold War relic. And yes, it was born in that era, but it hasn't been frozen in time. Since entering service in the 1950s, the aircraft has been continuously upgraded, modernized, and adapted for new missions. It flew thousands of combat sorties over Vietnam, especially during Operation Arclight. It played a central role in long-range strike operations during Desert Storm. And after 9/11, it once again became a backbone of sustained air campaigns in Afghanistan and Iraq. Today, the B-52 remains one of the Air Force's primary long-range conventional strike platforms, not because it's stealthy, not because it's fast, but because it can carry massive payloads, stay airborne for hours, even days, with refueling, and integrate new weapons as warfare evolves. That flexibility, more than anything else, is why the Air Force is still investing in it. One of the most visible upgrades coming to the B-52 is a completely new radar. The Air Force is replacing the bomber's aging, mechanically scanned system with a modern, active electronically scanned array. This is not a minor improvement. Unlike older radars that physically move to steer their beam, an active electronically scanned array radar uses hundreds of small transmit-receive modules to steer energy electronically. That means faster scanning, the ability to track multiple targets at once, higher resolution mapping, and greater reliability because there are fewer moving parts. For the B-52, that translates into better terrain mapping, more precise navigation, improved situational awareness, and stronger targeting support in all weather conditions. It also allows the bomber to operate more effectively inside a modern, networked force, where data from aircraft, satellites, ships, and ground units must be fused and shared in real time. This upgrade isn't about turning the B-52 into an airborne early warning platform. It's about ensuring its onboard systems are no longer a limiting factor in a 21st century battlespace. But the single largest physical change to the B-52 is happening under the wing. The Air Force is replacing all 8 of the bomber's current engines with new Rolls-Royce F130 engines as part of the Commercial Engine Replacement Program. Upon completion of that upgrade, the modified aircraft will be redesignated as the B-52J. This is not just about reliability. The new engines are expected to deliver better fuel efficiency, lower maintenance requirements, and significantly more available electrical power. And that extra electrical power matters. These engines are designed to meet those demands, while also extending endurance and simplifying long-term sustainment. In many ways, the upgrade is a foundational enabler, ensuring the B-52 remains viable well into the future. But radar and engines are only part of the story. Just as important is what's changing inside the B-52's mission computer and software backbone. The bomber is receiving upgrades to its mission systems and digital architecture. This includes modern processors, updated displays, and an open architecture approach designed to make future software and hardware upgrades far easier to integrate. In modern air operations, software drives capability. New sensors, new weapons, and new data links all depend on how well an aircraft can process and manage information. The upgraded B-52 is being prepared to operate as part of a digitally connected force, not through a new sensor, but through a new software and mission systems architecture. This does not turn the B-52 into a flying command center, but it does ensure that it can operate effectively inside a force that increasingly depends on shared situational awareness and coordinated targeting. Just as important as sensors and software is what the B-52 can actually deliver. The bomber is being updated to carry a broader range of modern standoff weapons, including the Air Force's Future Nuclear Cruise Missile. This involves upgrades to its internal weapons bay, launch systems, and weapon integration software, allowing new weapons to be introduced far more easily than in the past. From an operational standpoint, this ensures the aircraft can continue to employ the next generation of long-range strike weapons, rather than remaining tied to legacy missile designs. The aircraft itself may look the same on the outside, but the way it carries and delivers weapons is being modernized to keep pace with the rest of the force. All of these changes lead to a more important conclusion. The B-52 is not being rebuilt to survive inside the most heavily defended airspace. It is not being turned into a stealth penetrator. That mission belongs to other aircraft. What is changing is how the B-52 is expected to be used. In simple terms, it is being refined for the kind of standoff, networked strike missions that will define high-end air operations in the years ahead, not for independent, high-risk penetration missions. Another reason it's being upgraded is far more practical. The Air Force's bomber force will remain limited in size for the foreseeable future. New aircraft are entering service, but production rates and budget constraints mean they cannot replace the existing fleet quickly. As a result, the B-52 will continue to carry a significant share of the long-range strike mission for many years to come. That is why the upgrade effort is focused on systems, software, and propulsion rather than major structural redesign. The objective is continuity, to keep a critical part of the bomber force credible during a long and gradual transition to new platforms. So, the most important thing to understand about the B-52 upgrade is not a single radar, engine, or software package. It is what the aircraft is being prepared to do inside the future force. The B-52 is no longer being shaped around breaking through advanced air defenses on its own. It is being shaped to deliver weapons at long range, using targeting and sensor data generated across a much larger network. In other words, the bomber is becoming less about the platform itself, and more about how well it can plug into the rest of the force. The B-52 is not being reinvented, but it is being quietly transformed. And in a future defined by contested airspace, long-range sensors, and rapidly evolving threats, that transformation may matter just as much as any brand new bomber that comes after it. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into modern military aviation and air power. And let me know in the comments. Do you think extending platforms like the B-52 is the right approach? Or should the focus be entirely on building the next generation instead?